Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to this press briefing on Prime Minister's forthcoming visit to Russia. We have with us Foreign Secretary Dr. S. Jaishankar and Mr. Shambhu Kumaran, Joint Secretary Eurasia. Foreign Secretary will give you the details of Prime Minister's program in Russia and our expectations from the visit, and then we can go into the Q&A. With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vikas. Prime Minister would be visiting Moscow for the annual summit on the 23rd and 24th of December. This practice of annual summit started in 2000, and this is the 16th annual summit. And it is Prime Minister Modi's second summit with Russia. As you would recall, President Putin was here last year in December for the 15th summit. The Prime Minister and President, of course, have met each other on a number of occasions, and their last formal interaction was during the BRICS summit in Ufa in July. But they did interact with each other at the UNGA, at the G20 in Turkey as well in November. Now, in terms of the program, the visit would commence with a dinner, a sort of a private dinner hosted by the President for Prime Minister on 23rd evening. The actual summit would be on the 24th. The Prime Minister and President would be interacting with a group of Indian and Russian CEOs as well in the Kremlin. And then the Prime Minister would be addressing a gathering of the Friends of India and the Indian community at the Expo Center in Moscow in the evening. As part of the program, he would also be going to the Russian Emercom facility. This is it's a sort of center for their national disaster management forces, and he will be receiving a briefing on the real-time monitoring of civil emergencies at this center, and which I believe is a sort of very state-of-the-art facility. Now, in terms of India-Russia relations, I think, frankly, most of you are very familiar with it. We have a very special and privileged strategic relationship with Russia. And this has really spanned key sectors such as defense, nuclear cooperation, space. And at the last summit, both leaders had given a lot of attention to expanding the economic pillars of our relationship. That would continue to be a big theme at this summit as well. With Russia, it's a very old and trusted partner of India, and our approach to a lot of international and regional global issues are very similar. So it's to be expected that the two leaders would have an exchange of views on different issues. At the last summit in December 2014, the two countries had also adopted a vision document called Drushba Dosti for strengthening our partnership. And we expect to sign a number of agreements covering a very broad range of fields. Some of them are still kind of, final touches are being given. So that's the broad sort of sense of what you could expect from the visit. Let me just add a few additional points. A lot of the work, for the visit is done through mechanisms that we have. We have a intergovernmental commission between India and Russia. These are two commissions. One is a sort of a trade and economic. It's a sort of broader non-defense part of the relationship, which is headed by External Affairs Minister on our side. And this commission met in Moscow in October, And then the defense side of it, the Military Technology Commission, which is headed by Raksha Mantri on our side, Defense Minister on our side, met in Russia as well in November. So they did a lot of the spade work for the summit. Just to give you a sense of the relationship, the issues in the relationship, our trade with Russia today is last year was a shade below $10 billion, and we hope in the next 10 years to really take it up to $30 billion. So expanding trade is a very big priority. Similarly, investments, mutual investments, are roughly around $11 billion of each other. And we want to take it up again to $30 billion, $15 billion each by 2025. A lot of efforts have gone, therefore, into facilitating trade and improving the investment climate. So there have been discussions and understandings, for example, on the customs side, movement of goods. There was, if you recall, last year initiative to exhibit and then promote the sale of diamonds, so that that's sort of got off the ground. Agro products are a big focus of sort of push from the Indian side, and we've had discussions with Russia on the Eurasian Economic Zone, with the FTA with them, and the study for that has been completed on our side, and I think we are in the process of exchanging it with the Russians. On the nuclear, again, if you would recall, we have an understanding with Russia to build 12 nuclear power plants. That sort of work in progress. As you know, the first Kudankulam plant has been built, and it's kind of being connected to the grid, and the second one is at a very advanced stage, and then there are negotiations and discussions at various stages regarding the rest of them. Russia has been a very major military and strategic partner for India, so there will be a lot of discussions on that. And similarly, on the energy and natural resources side, oil, even coal to some extent is an area where we have a lot of interest in working with the Russians. Then traditionally, I would say actually historically, Russia has been a very important technology partner. So whether it is in supercomputing, whether it's in heavy engineering, on space side, particularly satellites, even when it comes to energy on the renewable side, these are all areas where we think that there is much that we can do with Russia. Of course, as a political and strategic partner, there will be political issues, state of the world, different issues that at this particular time are important, will come up for discussions. And finally, we have a very strong people-to-people relationship with Russia. I mean, it expresses itself in very different ways. So you will probably see some moves to encourage tourism, facilitate travel. So those are also areas that we'll be working on. So that's broadly the sort of the scene where Russia is concerned. This is sort of end of the year. Traditionally, the summits have happened in December, but certainly at the end of the year, this would be one of the most important engagements for us in this year. So it's a visit which the Prime Minister looks forward to with a lot of enthusiasm. Thank you.
Yep, questions? Well, we have no questions.
Sir, you talked about political relationship, but we have seen that last time when discussion on UNSC was going on, when we had put some timeline and wrote things, Russia was one of the countries who has told that you cannot make artificial deadlines. So it was one of the shockers felt in India that how can Russia speak like this. So how do you comment and how will you explain to us that what is the political relationship between us?
Well, you see, where Russia is concerned, I think the Russian support for India joining the UN Security Council as a permanent member has not been in doubt for many years now. It's been stated at very high levels publicly, and I would say confidentially as well. So I don't think the issue is are they for India or not for India. There are countries where that question can be asked legitimately, but not with Russia. I think the question, the issue which we are discussing with the Russians is what is the optimal way of reaching that goal. Now, obviously, we have certain views on that, and they have certain views on that, and both of us have considerable experience in working with the UN system. Obviously, as a permanent member, there are a lot of areas where their experiences and their interests guide them. So this is very much a subject which we discuss with each other, and we discuss with each other as two countries who have great confidence and trust in each other. So we don't at all doubt the Russian commitment to see India as a permanent member. And I can tell you, even when External Affairs Minister was in Moscow, if you recall, I mean, it took up a considerable portion of the discussions with Foreign Minister Lavrov. I expect that this would be a continuing subject of discussion.
I believe the Defense Acquisition Council approved the purchase of Russian air missile defense systems last week. Is that going to be discussed during the visit? And will the Prime Minister be passing through Kabul on the way back? There will be discussions, obviously, when the Prime Minister and the President meet on our defense ties. We generally avoid predicting either discussions or possible outcomes, so I'm afraid you'll have to wait and see. Insofar as this briefing is concerned, it's about Prime Minister's visit to Russia.
So I know this has been taken up at a certain level, and there hasn't been much cooperation from the Russian side on it. Is Prime Minister going to bring up the Netaji issue with President Putin? The other thing is, during the Putin visit last time, there was considerable discussion on the lease, a 10-year lease of a nuclear submarine. Is that going to be taken forward as well?
The Netaji issue has figured in our discussions even recently. It was something which Foreign Minister had also mentioned to her counterpart. So I think let's wait and see what happens. I mean, I wouldn't prejudge the Russian response till we get it. On defense issues, as you know, we don't comment certainly in advance, sometimes even after the event. So I think I really won't be able to answer it.
Nidhi?
So I don't know if you're aware of this story about these Indian students who are being deported from the US, apparently because 2 universities have been blacklisted. Apparently the universities have told them that after the Paris attack, there's a greater security screening, but Air India has offloaded them. Is the MEA aware of this? Is it being taken up?
This is not a Russia question, but yes, we are aware of it, and it's possible sometime during the day he might say something.
So you have talked of the economic cooperation. Do you see India moving into the space vacated by Turkey after that?
Sorry, space vacated by?
Turkey. After the downing of S-24 bomb.
I'm not sure I would like to think of my trade prospects as sort of occupying a space that somebody else vacated. I think I would prefer to think of it as an opportunity that I have not exploited to the fullest, either due to lack of effort or initiative on the part of either country. We do see Russia today as a market which offers great possibilities, and if you actually look at India's own basket, there are a number of areas where we traditionally were not exporting. So the possibilities are there, and I think particularly if we reach and implement stronger understandings, strong understandings on customs facilitation, and very consciously do more trade promotion work, I have every confidence that our trade with Russia will increase. I mean, certainly nobody on either side can be satisfied with a number of below $10 billion.
Geeta Mohan.
There's a lot of political discussions that is ongoing right now on Syria. I just wanted to know what India's stand would be with regards to Russia's military intervention on Syria.
Well, first of all, my sense is that at a conceptual level, both the Russians and us agree that the Syrian issue needs to be resolved through political and diplomatic means, and through an intra-Syrian dialogue. So if you look at the broad approach to the issue, I think we are sort of on the same page. In terms of what the Russians are actually doing in Syria, that's something which really they have decided in consultation with the government of Syria.
Get a mic.
Is there an issue with the Ukrainian components of Russian systems that we've negotiated and are in the process of negotiating, namely for ships and helicopters, please?
Well, I think sometimes we have had some problems like that, but we have good relations with Ukraine as well, and it's in everybody's interest that if there is a contract or there's a potential contract, that we all work together, because if we don't work together, it's not going to happen. So I think where such situations arise, we are reasonably confident that we have the ability to work with all parties concerned to address that.
Kalul.
Sir, in the last 1 year, a lot of things have changed in Russia-Pakistan relationship. We are being told that Pakistan fighter jets will have Russian engines. How will you address the space that Pakistan is gaining in Russia, especially in Russian strategic thinking? And also, please also address the Russia-Pakistan relationship in context of Afghanistan.
No, look, I'm not, I can't imagine that there's anybody in this room, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, who has, who doesn't have a good understanding of the history of our relationship with Russia, the breadth of our cooperation, the very unique facets of these ties. We do things with Russia, and Russia does things with us which we don't do with any other country. I mean, to me, even a sense of comparison that you see your question seems to imply, it sort of just doesn't make sense to me.
So, sort of supplementary to the previous question, while
after I said it doesn't make sense to me, well, okay.
Yeah. While India's ties with India has moved very close to the US, even you can see in the last 18 months politically, and the Russians are quite upset at this. The Russian ambassador has also spoken out publicly on several occasions, lambasting India's efforts to buy products from Western nations, and correspondingly, Russia has also moved closer to Pakistan in a seeming tit-for-tat kind of a response. So how do you see this? Do you accept the fact that the Russians are concerned that India has moved closer to the US?
You see, no. First of all, I don't accept the fact that we have moved closer to one particular country on a sort of permanent basis. I think what you see every time that there is a visit or an important interaction is a sort of a, if it is successful, and apparently it is from what you are saying, you have a sort of a description in the media that we have moved close to that country. So, if Obama is visiting, we are close to the Americans. If Abe is visiting, we are close to the Japanese. If Xi Jinping is visiting, something is happening between India and China. So, I think inherent in your question is some kind of zero-sum game assumption, which I don't share at all. I think that's not the way Indian foreign policy is constructed. I think what we are trying to do is really expand the frontiers of cooperation with every country, every major country certainly, but every country that we have dealings with. If at that moment, people get carried away and regard it as some kind of great positional shift, I'm not sure that is a very accurate understanding of what is actually happening. I mean, look back in the last year and a half. I would suggest to you actually virtually every relationship we have has sort of changed for the better. On your question about the Russian ambassador, look, if the Russian ambassador doesn't promote Russian aircraft, whose aircraft would he promote? I mean, he's doing his job. But because he's doing his job, please don't take that as in some way an implication that the relationship is not doing well. I'm sure if you asked him the next question, which is the relationship doing well, he would say yes. He would obviously want it to do better in a way in which it favors his interest. That is completely legitimate. So I don't, I know this is a fashionable narrative that, somebody is disappointed with you and making compensatory moves. I mean, look at the players concerned. I mean, you don't sort of take such a major relationship and then something else which is happening somewhere else say, oh, that's the reaction to this. That's why I said it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in terms of the weight and the breadth and the substance of the relationships that you are asking about.
Smita Sharma.
India has begun supplying the 4 Mi-25 helicopters promised to Afghanistan, but through Russia. The 3 of them seem to be on the anvil. Is there any other military acquisition that India might be looking at with the Afghan sort of wish list through Russia? And B, the kind of debate to a question asked by Geeta, because on this Russian airstrikes against the forces in Syria, if you were to go by the Turkish narrative of it or the American narrative of it, they would make it sound that they are actually striking on against basically either pro-Turkish forces or being more helpful to ISIS. What is India's stand on how effective really are the Russian airstrikes?
No, look, Russia has a position about the threat posed by terrorism, fundamentalism, extremism, which is a long-standing position, and it's something that we share with Russia. So I don't think we would doubt the Russian commitment in that regard. Because I assume that their action is related to their beliefs and positions which they have long held, and we know what those positions are, and we in many ways share those positions. So where we are concerned, we look at that part of the world, and we certainly don't want forces of religious fundamentalism and extremism, and which have particularly horrific ways of expressing their interest to gain ground. So I think in our minds the issue is quite clear. Actually, technically, these were not Russian acquisitions. These were, the sort of what you are referring to. I assume anything that we would look at with any country, which would be something which we would look at from our resources.
Sir, some reports suggest last month Russia took India and particularly Goa as a safe destination for Russian tourists. Has this been officially communicated to you, or is this issue going to come up?
Right. I don't think that is correct.
The Russian Center in Goa is a non-governmental institution that supports Russian tourists. The Russian embassy has put out a detailed press release disassociating themselves from that statement.
Last question. Last two questions.
Hi there. What do you hope to get from Russia in terms of nuclear energy cooperation, and specifically getting Russia to build more nuclear reactors in India?
I can't be too specific because then I would have nothing to say after the visit. I would draw your attention to the fact that we actually have a roadmap of nuclear cooperation that we've laid out, and we're sort of advancing along that roadmap.
Vinita, last question.
Sir, are we going to see some agreements on education or medical educations? Because long time there have been an issue with the medical degrees from Russia. So is there going to be any movement forward on that?
My recollection is it's something we are still discussing. Am I correct? Yes. We're still discussing. I don't think we have a definitive resolution of some of those issues. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.